Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Parker.
Man, you just took out a fruit fly?
Yeah, that little fucker. He's a big fruit fly too. I could see the ridges in his fucking abdomen. Gave me a little blood spot.
Man, dude, you're just a vicious. You're like a hitman.
Yep. Call me not Jason Bourne. Jason Statham is also.
He's the transporter.
Yeah, and then also
Wait, no,
Parker.
yeah.
Parker. Oh,
Parker. We got a mobile order for Parker?
yeah. I said it like once like that.
You say it every time. You just don't hear it, bro. You've gone ear blinds, dude.
What? I have a mobile order for Parker.
But yeah, now, but in the heat of the moment, bro, when they're asking, when there's,
can you say that again? Can you say that again? Like, no, I don't.
When there's cars behind you, you know, and they're putting you on the spot, being all like, "What kind of beverage would you like, sir?"
I don't know.
In that moment, yeah.
Get some bitches. I'm trying. Bro, bird update. Mama's looking real fat. I think a baby might be coming soon. A egg or two.
Yeah, bro, she's about to drop a payload.
Yeah, about shit her pants.
Did you speaking of payloads and killing and all that stuff? Did you watch The Irishman yet?
No, I did not.
Dude, personally, I'm not a movie critic. It's about Frank Sheeran, who's Robert De Niro, and Frank Sheeran is a hitman / Jimmy Hoffa bodyguard in the family, and this guy Russell Buffalino, who's the head of one of the families, the Buffalino crime family. He's played by Joe Pesci. And then you have Al Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa. So it's supposed to be like that story of the Teamsters and everything and who killed Jimmy Hoffa. And it's supposed to be, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Irishman. The Irishman kills Jimmy Hoffa.
Hey, man.
Supposedly, right? In the movie, he does.
All right. That's all speculation, huh?
Well, I was looking into it, and I guess people approached Robert De Niro about the script, allegedly, and tried to warn him that it could just be bullshit. Which the actual guy, the Frank Sheeran guy, he was at a nursing home when he gave this story in like 2000 or whatever, right before he died.
Makes for a good movie, right?
They couldn't really tie him to a lot of the murders and stuff. They could only tie him to around one. But this guy was this was just random because you always hear about the World War II guys and how they were like the greatest generation and all that. And you never really, or at least I didn't. I thought of World War II as deadly. I mean, it was a nasty war and everything, but I always thought of the people on our side as being like perfect, right? Like in Korea and Vietnam, the people on our side, we did drugs, we did some questionable things. But back then in World War II, it was like, no question, the Allies were like trying to fight for good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know the truth is like always whatever, dark and everything. And I know that in the end, it was like the greater of two or the better of two evils or whatever. But, and again, I don't know how to approach this because I have like the utmost respect for all the veterans and everything. So I don't want it. This by no means is like a broad brush statement or anything. I'm not trying to be one of those people that's like, they did war crimes and all this. I'm just saying that this guy was a weird exception to the greatest generation because you usually hear of them going on, you know, you see World War II veterans and then later he went on to be a doctor and this shit or that shit, you know, or you hear about the actors, but
some prestigious shit or something.
Right. This dude, Frank Sheeran, he enlisted in the army in August 1941. It says he completed basic training. And after the attack on Pearl Harbor, he volunteered for airborne training, but he dislocated his shoulder, so he was transferred to the 45th Infantry Division, known as the Thunderbirds and the Killer Division. On July 14th, 1943, he set sail for Africa. So this guy was in the shit. He served 411 days of combat duty.
Wait, you said he went where?
He went to North Africa.
North Africa.
But he did more than, I mean, he served 411 days of combat duty. His first experience was during the Italian campaign, which was like Sicily, all that stuff, Salerno and Anzio. Then he served in southern France on the landings and the invasion of Germany. He said, all in all, I had 50 days lost under AWOL, absent without official leave, mostly spent drinking red wine and chasing Italian, French, and German women. However, I was never AWOL when my outfit was going back to the front lines. If you were AWOL when your unit was going back into combat, you might as well keep going because one of your own officers would blow you away. And they didn't even have to say it was the Germans. That's desertion in the face of the enemy. Which is, I get it back then, of course, because everybody wanted to fight. You know how we were talking about the feeling and everything. But he recalled his war service as he said it was the time where he developed like callousness to taking human life. And he claimed to have participated in a bunch of kind of massacres. But he broke down these wartime killings into 4 categories One of them was revenge killings, which was in the heat of battle. Sheeran told Brandt, who interviewed him, that a German soldier had just killed his close friends and then tried to surrender, but he chose to send him to hell too. He described often witnessing similar behavior by fellow GIs, right? So it's like you can, if you're going to be thinking about the heat of battle and wartime, you almost let that one slip, right? If you're being generous, you're like, oh, okay, all right, I guess, yeah. I guess kind of.
That is a war crime, right?
Yeah, well, that's murder.
Yeah.
If they surrender.
Yeah.
Number 2 was orders from unit commanders during a mission. Sheeran described his first murder for organized crime. It was just like when an officer would tell you to take a couple of German prisoners back behind the line for you to hurry back. You did what you had to do. Then the other one was the Dachau reprisals or other reprisal killings. And then 4 was calculated attempts to dehumanize and degrade German POWs. Sheeran's unit was climbing the Harz Mountains when they came upon a Wehrmacht mule train carrying food and drink up the mountainside. Then Sheeran and his fellow GIs ate what we wanted and then soiled the rest with our waste. Then the Wehrmacht mule drivers were given shovels in order to dig their own shallow graves. Sheeran joked that they did so without complaint, likely hoping that he and his buddies would change their minds, but the mule drivers were shot and buried in the holes they had dug. Sheeran explained that by then he had no hesitation in doing what I had to do.
Wait, did you say that they would like shit and piss on their fucking food after they finished eating so that nobody else could eat it?
They let the women go.
Yeah.
And then they ate all what they wanted and everything. And then they soiled it. So I don't know what they did. Messed up all the food or whatever. But then they had these guys dig their own graves and
that would be like kind of spooky. I can't imagine what I'd be thinking in that moment. I guess what he said was like, they're hoping that they change their minds, like him and his buddies change their mind about killing them, but they still follow through with it. But I don't think that would be on my mind. I'd be like, okay, these people are definitely going to kill me if I'm digging my own grave right now. I would be like, they might change their mind.
Well, you have no other choice. What you can do, run.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of any of this is true because it is him saying it also. And with everything is kind of questionable, but I don't know the story as solidly. I just wanted to talk about it because it was crazy to me because you realize that, oh yeah, I'd watch like Band of Brothers and you're so interested in the stories of the guys and everything that you don't realize that they blatantly tell you about it. There's this guy, that show Homeland?
Yeah.
With the Marine guy. What's his name?
He has like a funny name.
Damian Lewis. Something.
Because Homeland is the Homeland Security.
I'm talking about the show.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's based around the Homeland Security.
So isn't this Damian Lewis?
Yeah.
So he was in Band of Brothers. He played Richard Winters, Dick Winters. And there's a couple scenes. First, there was in one of the beginning. If you haven't seen Band of Brothers, spoiler alert, but there's a scene in like the second episode where one of the guys, Bill Garnier, finds out his brother was killed so he just opens up and they kill a bunch of Germans, but it's fine. That's wartime. It was on D-Day, right? So he opened up. He didn't wait for Winter's command and he just opened up out of anger. So it's like, I get that. Okay, fine. But then there was a couple episodes in, it shows one of the guys shooting at one of the wounded German prisoners. He goes up to him. He's like, that's enough. And he's like, I need you to take these prisoners back to CP or whatever. And the guy's like, yes, sir. And he starts running back and he's like, Joe, because his name's Joe, coincidentally. And he takes all his ammo out. And the guy's like, what are you doing? And he's like, you have one bullet. You drop a prisoner, the rest will jump you. I want them all back at CP alive, And it's like, I'm so into World War II and all the military shit that I've seen this a million times. So I like remember. And same with the Pacific, the miniseries about the Pacific War and World War II and how vicious that kind of you almost expect because it's almost you've heard, or at least I've heard so much about the Pacific Theater in World War II and how vicious the warfare was and the terrain and all that played in on the psychological. And I've also heard the shit in Europe. So I guess it's kind of hard to hear coming from the European theater. I don't know why, because you'd expect the savageness. I mean, war is war, you know what I mean? But the best way I saw it put was that the guys in the Pacific were going into the jungle. They had they had like a liberty in Australia, but they were going into foreign kind of land and everything. Whereas in Europe, it almost resembled kind of what they knew. There was churches, bakeries, but there was none of that shit on those islands. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's just specks of dirt in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not saying one had it harder, but it's just, I guess it's harder to understand like that there was a war going on in Europe, they were still pretty bad in terms of what they were doing.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if I explained that right. It just seems like out in the Pacific, it was a whole kind of different. But then
being
again, I mean, come on, D-Day, that was fucking horrifying. Now it sounds like I'm comparing. I getting off the topic here. I don't know. What did you want to say?
it's like the conditions and environment you're in play a huge role, and so it's a little bit more. You're just a little bit more a little bit more stress.
Talking about this guy and bring I just don't want to belittle anybody
Yeah,
in terms of those guys had it harder. It's like then you fucking go, charge up the beach on D-Day. It's like that's not what I mean. I'm just saying that in the scheme of things, I don't even know what I'm saying. But this going back to this guy in this movie, it kind of is interesting because it's a little bit about World War II, but that's just what
setup.
what he said, yeah, made him callous to killing and everything, which
To just kind of run back a little bit, are you saying that like his accounts would be believable, kind of, because of
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like I never realized. I just maybe unconsciously chose not to look at that. But I'm like, oh yeah, they do mention it in like every movie ever. They mention it a lot, but for some reason you're just like, because it was kind of not widespread. I think that's why.
hmm
Because other people throughout history, other armies have done horrible things to places like cities or towns they've sacked and done horrible things, and
yeah,
other armies have done good. So, in all, yeah, but I guess I forget that there was a lot of wild shit that this side did too, the supposedly good side that might have not been the best, but in his words, you did what you had to be done, which I get that for certain things, but
yeah,
I don't know about a lot, you know what I mean? So it wasn't really about that. The movie was more about when he was a truck driver and then he became a teamster and then he got involved with the mafia shit because he was like helping them rob these trucks and these companies, and then he was assigned protection for Jimmy Hoffa. And it was a whole thing with Jimmy Hoffa was a trade unionist and he kind of organized all these contracts for these unions so that these workers could have all these good wages and everything. But he had to deal with the mafia because of they controlled the unions or whatever. So he did all this good stuff and he was building and he was using these pension funds of these guys to like build crazy shit and invest stuff and everything. And then he goes to prison for fraud. And when he comes out, there's another guy running. This is a quick synopsis of the Hoffa story. There's another guy running the
his
union and he
division.
wants his presidency back. And I guess he was pushing too hard. And the mafia guys didn't want him to be president because he wouldn't give them what they wanted in terms of money, whereas they could get everything from the other guy, this Fitzpatrick or whatever, Fitzsimmons, the other guy that's running it in the movie. And so the story goes that they took him and they shot him in a house outside Detroit. But after Jimmy Hoffa disappeared in real life, they went to the house that the guy was talking about and they couldn't find any blood or anything. So Jimmy Hoffa is still allegedly missing. Well, I mean, he's dead in absentia, which means he didn't turn up, so they rule him
Yeah,
dead.
I know, like they definitely probably did sell some drugs or something here and there, did whatever, right? But there was their main thing just like scamming and fraud,
Who?
like Jimmy Hoffa.
No, they did all kinds of racketeering.
But
And
it wasn't like the cartel mainly being drugs, right?
yeah, the cartel isn't mainly drugs anymore. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe prohibition. I don't know how they started, but I mean,
So
it's old as shit. So,
would you rather do like the fraud, like some Bernie Madoff shit, or would you rather do like some El Chapo shit?
I don't know, but they do. They do both ends. They're El Chapo and Bernie Madoff. But no, I think that Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know about him. I guess I don't know how he was in real life. This movie portrays him as like a nice guy, but also there's a lot of bullshit in the movie too with their closeness and everything with the relationship. But it's a movie; you got to Hollywood it up.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was an interesting story because it goes into how the Kennedys went after Jimmy Hoffa and how they didn't like Bobby Kennedy because it kind of plays into the conspiracy theories, which is weird because
It could all start making sense. It could all connect back.
yeah, they all connect everything. They're talking about like the mob helped Kennedy get in and they rigged the vote for Kennedy to get in. And then he does the Bay of Pigs. And in the movie, it was so that they could get their businesses and casinos back from Castro. Like Joe Pesci's character, Russell Buffalino, they want their Cuban interests back. And then that
Right.
gets fucked up in real life, in history, the Bay of Pigs invasion. And then they're like, what the fuck's going on? Now your brother's attacking us. And they were trying to get to the old man and be like, hey, control your kids. But he was too old at the time, sitting in a chair looking out a window. So they couldn't reel him back in. And then, the rest is history. I don't know if the mob killed Kennedy, but that's what it's alluding to. It's a good movie, but it seems like you took real and you made it into the conspiracy. You made it into a good story. But did that really happen? I don't know.
Yeah. At that point, it's just a fiction book, right? Possibly based off true story. That was like produced well.
It was like Goodfellas, but not really. It was kind of the same camera work where they follow the guys in, same type of mob movie, but a little different in terms of not as much wise guy shit, I guess. It's more of, I don't know how to describe it actually, because again, I'm not a movie critic, so I'm just trying to like pull this out of my head. So it's long, but it is mob because it's about this hitman guy, but it's more about him and the story with Jimmy. It's not about just like mob activity.
So it's a biopic type thing. It's like
kinda, whatever. Good movie. I don't know. It's just one that was.
So how? I mean, what about like the cast? How was the cast star-studded?
It was all the old people came back.
Robert De Niro,
Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci, and then one of the mobsters was Sebastian Maniscalco, the comedian. Oh, dude, the coffin maker at the end, it was Action Bronson was in the movie. That was cool. Fine.
Action Bronson. Was it Netflix made?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they always give rappers and people like that into their movies. Lil Yachty has his own full movie, and I can't remember his name. I feel bad. It sounds like this has no, like, the storyline, what it's about, everything. It has no comparison, right? But it's kind of like an Avatar. You know what I'm saying? Like, not The Last Airbender, but the Blue People. Great movie, really well made. It's just like nobody remembered it after 2009. I'm not saying nobody's going to remember this, but it just seems like it was really good and it lived up to the expectations, but for only a short amount of time.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, I feel like it was almost like a send off for the actors more than
true.
It was more for them than about making a movie. It seems like
that makes sense.
It was just more for like, hey, let's just get together and make what we do best, but let's give the people what they want. Let's put all of us in one movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Expendables for mob actors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where they're not even. That's perfect right there. It's like they're not going that far, but they're like. They used to take that stuff seriously, like Commando, Rambo. Those weren't joking movies. The Expendables is kind of like playing into that, but that's what they're almost headed with this. It's like the Goodfellas and all that stuff, Casino. Those are serious. Those are good movies, and so is this one. But it's more of like not a joke, but it seems like it's more of just one that they put together because
the actors probably brought it to them.
I don't know. It just seems.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, they're all sitting drinking in the back of Robert De Niro's fucking backyard or whatever around campfire, and they're like, movie?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think it's a little more complicated.
No, I know, but that's you know what I'm saying. It's
just because you never hear about movies anymore.
Dude, because it was already dying before COVID, and then COVID hit, and it was just like, nope. Because they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna release it on these fucking platforms. And everyone was like, bro, we ain't got we don't have that fucking money right now. We're not going to buy an extra subscription to Disney Plus just to watch some of these stupid movies. And so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
no, it was a good movie. The reason that I watched it was I was listening to a podcast with Michael Franzese. He was on, what if Mike Tyson asked us on his podcast? Yeah, he's probably, you get punched in the face. Alan just took a punch from fucking Mike Tyson. Did you see The Hangover?
Oh, yeah.
And they're putting the tramadol or whatever, Ambien in the steak.
Dude, I feel like that you'd say that. You'd be like, no, this would be you. He'd ask us, so, hey, why'd you impersonate me? Why'd you make fun of my stutter? Or Liz punches you, and then you go, holy shit, I just got punched by Mike Tyson.
Imagine I slip his punch.
Oh. You know, it's a pretty, sick picture, though, of him getting his face tat.
Yeah.
It's sick.
I think I could run away from Mike Tyson. If I said some shit real quick, like, hey, fuck you, and then you just ran,
Yeah.
Like if you don't care about being a bitch, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But if it was if he just wanted to hit somebody that day and you're there, I think I could outrun him.
Like if he squared up with you, you could outrun him.
Yeah.
Because I think anybody could fucking from across the fucking hallway, hey, fuck you, and then just start running. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay, how about I say it to his face and then run? So it's right there. Where they doing a face off and I go, fuck you, and then just run.
Oh, is there tension before? Is there?
Yeah,
like,
in my
okay.
legs. Like I know I'm gonna
No,
run.
I'm saying like between you two, or do you just walk up? And be
whatever.
like,
just yeah. No, I just walk up. And when he's
Yeah.
young though, when he's just
oh,
angry,
when he's young. Oh,
Yeah.
he's just angry.
And then I
yeah,
just-
you could. I could. Yeah.
but I'm like half turned, like ready to go.
You'd be like, yeah, and I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Foot already like facing to the right of you.
exactly.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
You want to hear the newest grossest thing I heard? I saw somewhere that Jerry Springer, the older brother from iCarly, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't think his name is Jerry Springer, dog.
Oh, and Jerry Trainer. Sorry, Jerry Springer. The Springer Show. I know him.
It is what that is.
Yeah, but no, Jerry Trainer. He said that there will be sexual tension in the upcoming seasons of the new iCarly.
What the fuck does that mean?
I know what. Yeah, I think what's his face is there.
Freddie Gibby.
I don't think Gibby's there. Everyone, they brought that Fuller House or whatever. I was like, I watched one episode and I was like, okay, the Full House was fun when I was a kid because it was like, you know, it was like with all the Nickelodeon shows and like cartoons, all the sexual innuendos and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's probably harder to get away with on like live acting. There was some weird shit, some weird like low key sexual shit, but I think it was also just fucking too sporadic enough where that's what created all these fucking memers. You know,
Yeah.
That's what shaped us.
I also didn't watch TV that much. We're just that generation where it's like you had TV still a thing when you were a kid, but then by the time you got to like 8, 9, it's like, all right, here's a DS. You had other shit to do.
And we were the class that we were like the first class to get the iPads in middle school and then got Chromebooks. Like my brother, who's 5 years older than me, he didn't get no laptop from the school.
Exactly.
So it's like we just like
that's what I'm saying. But that's like I just had more distractions when I got older, so it got to a point where I just wouldn't watch TV. I'd play video games, like you said, YouTube, and then the rest of the time you go out with your friends. But what do you do when you come home? You watch TV. Well, there's more shit to do now.
Yeah,
I have like a DS. I have this. I have the YouTube, which is any video I want. It's like, what? I'm not gonna watch TV.
And by the time that we were like that age, at least like probably when did I get like my first smartphone with like a full screen where I could watch YouTube on it? You know, I think I was like 14 or some shit. When did you get your first phone?
First phone?
Yeah.
Oh, when I was like 8 years old.
So what grade is that?
Third,
Second.
fourth grade.
Oh, I got mine in second grade.
My parents got me a flip phone. Yeah,
Same.
for emergencies.
Same.
But it could do everything. It wasn't.
Yeah,
just
mine was so sick. It was a black phone with like green, like bright green decals, and it had an MP3 player on the front of it, bro.
I had the Razor, the Motorola Razor. It was
the flip one?
It was a blue one.
I had the red one, but then I loved phones for some reason. I was super into. You know, it's super weird. When I was a kid, I was super into pens, like just office supplies for some reason. And then I got super into phones. I don't know. It's just weird, man. Good old days.
Children. Anyway, peace.
Deuces.